Mary and Jason, what are some of the changes that you have encountered since you've been married?
Well, it's we don't have much free time to do a lot of stuff.
And everything is always pressing. Like deadlines become big deadlines. You know, like if you don't pay the rent when you're single, that's just you that suffers from it. When you don't pay the rent when you have a family, everybody suffers. So everything is intensified.
Hmm. And also, once you get married, what's different from dating is when you get married, any other problems she has, anything she has going on in her past life comes right to you, and it comes. So you're dealing with that, and plus, well, for her, she's dealing with all your problems that was in your past or that was going on. Because when you're dating, you don't have to deal with that. Something's going on with your family, you can go, okay.
Everything's separate.
Everything's separate.
And everybody's on their best behavior when you're dating.
So you kind of acting, kind of role playing.
Yeah.
A little bit, because when you become married, you become totally vulnerable with that other person, and so at some point you have to let down your guard. So that means if you come home and you're frantic and crying, you can't wipe yourself up before they come over. You know what I mean? They see you raw every day, the way that you are, and I think that's why some marriages don't work, because people can't handle that.
You're right. You guys celebrated 2 years.
2 years.
How was that?
It went by fast.
How did it be?
And we had a baby in that time.
How was that? Adjusting to having a baby?
You lose a lot of sleep.
I bet.
That's the first thing you lose. And then, it's like you're just responsible for a new person. And that's just.
It's a whole other dynamic.
So how do you adjust to adjusting to a baby and balancing your own workload and balancing each other?
It takes time and practice. Because you don't just, you're not born knowing how to do it. But I say that just now, when he's 9 months old, we're just now getting to where we've gotten in a flow. But it took a long time because you had to figure out what was your priority. I know for me, I had to figure out what's my priority in baby, husband, work, household. And when I got my priorities straight, things started getting easier.
You had to find that balance.
Yeah, and then with the baby, it controls even the job you take, because you'll be looking online or you'll be applying for jobs and you'll say, okay, 10% travel, 50% travel. Like, no, I gotta be at the house. So having the baby, it basically kind of in a way controls you a little bit, because you're not single anymore, or it's not the two of you, so you just can't pick a job that just suits you. You have to make sure you're going to be home at appropriate time. You're going to be home to make dinner, cook everything, and just care for the baby.
You have to put your priorities in different places.
You become second, and then the baby comes first.
Absolutely. But then at the same time, while the baby is first, you still have to try to keep your marriage first, and because you don't want to put the baby first and totally forget about your marriage. Because what the baby needs most is 2 parents in the household. So you have to focus on your marriage just as much.
That sounds good. Have there been any other changes? Any other adjustments?
The things that were important before you got married are not as important now. So the brand new car or the big shiny, when you're a kid, a little girl, and you're thinking about getting married, what you think of is the ring, the dress, the wedding day, how fine your husband's going to be. After you get married, you're like, I wonder how I'm going to get this retirement, up. Like, does he have high blood pressure? The things that you worry about change. It's not the same. You have different worries, you have different wants and different needs. And I had to adjust to that way of thinking.
So y'all both thinking about getting a new job, right?
Yes. I'm going into law enforcement. I'm a pharmacy technician right now.
How do you feel about that, Jason?
At first I was like, because I was going to say no. Because the first time she asked me, it wasn't to be a cop, it was to be like a security guard at the jailhouse.
Right.
And I was like, absolutely not. You're not going to be with these criminals for like $15 an hour. And then she said, okay, well, I want to do law enforcement. And then I was like, okay, well, how about this? Go on the ride along with a police officer. Because at first she got interested by listening to the police scanner. And
Right.
she thought all the call sounded real cool and everything. I was like, well, why don't you go there in person and see what it's really like when you're there watching them cuff somebody and see if that's really for you. And she was like, okay. And she went there and she loved it. So I was like, well, I mean, it is a dangerous job, but you might as well let her do it because, like, for myself, I've always wanted to find my career, not a job. And
Right.
I haven't found it yet, but she found hers. So like, well, I'm not gonna just automatically say no and not let her even try, because I know myself. When I found my career, I wanted to at least try, or make an attempt, be supported. So I was like, okay, I know it's a dangerous job and cops die, but I don't see cops dying every day on the news. It's once in a blue moon. So I was like, okay, let's just
try it out. Support her.
So that's what we're doing right now.
And without that support, I wouldn't be able to do it. No. And I wouldn't be able to do it, even if I went ahead on and did it, it wouldn't be successful. Because when you're married, you have to agree on even little decisions. Not only do I have to get his permission or his blessing for going to law enforcement, I have to make sure that he wants fried fish tonight instead of a burger.
Right.
You have to be in agree.
She knows I eat anything though. I eat anything. I'm not a picky eater, so.
But you have to be in agreement. Maybe I want to go out for dinner tonight. Maybe he wants me to cook.
Right.
I don't want to cook tonight, so I want to go to dinner.
So yeah. So.
But
it sounds like you guys have a very good relationship. You're very supportive of each other.
We do.
Yeah.
I think we do because.
Can you say God?
Yeah. Because our foundation is built on God, and I understand that He's the top.
Right.
He's the head, and the reason why I trust Him and don't question Him is because I believe that He's going to God first on our decisions.
Right.
And the way to guide our household. So since I trust God, then I trust that He's listening to God, so I can follow Him.
And always about that part, being head of the household. I mean, I know I'm the head of the household, but in some ways, I think of this marriage as mostly a partnership.
Right.
Because even though I'm the head, there's some things that I can't do that she can do. And that there are some decisions that, like some financial decisions, that she says, okay, we can afford this, but we can afford that. We can afford this, but we can't afford that. I'll be like, okay, I'm not going to question her.
You respect her opinion.
Yeah, because there's some issues where she's better than me. She's better than me at money.
Okay.
So any big financial decision, if she tells me to wait and I want something, then I'll say, okay, I'll wait. Because I think you have to understand that even though you're the head of the household, you have strengths and you have weaknesses. And if you realize that your weakness is finances, then you need to listen to your wife about finances. So just acknowledge that, and it'll be okay.
Sounds good. How has the baby helped to mold your marriage and make it more solid?
Oh, well, I think we're both equally in love with our baby. He is the cutest. You see, I started talking baby talk, but he is the cutest person ever. And when I look at him, sometimes I see myself, and then sometimes I see Jason.
Yes.
I mean, to be married, to be one, and then to bring a child into the world that's the combination of you both, and to know that your ultimate goal for this child is not to be a doctor or a lawyer, but to be Christ-like. And we're on the same path. We're on the same plan to get him there. It's the best thing ever. It is awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like for myself, I wasn't the type of person. Well, I'm not to say I wasn't the type of person. Sometimes I do like when I want to succeed in life, I wouldn't mind having a job where it's kind of prestigious, but that's not really the goal. I would like him to just be happy in life. I want him not to suffer financially and have a good life and everything, but I really want him to find what makes him happy. So it's not so much of money tied to it, but whatever makes him happy in life and he loves doing.
You want him to find a career.
I want him to find a career. I want him not to bounce from job to job. I want him to be able to find something that he says, you know, I can do this for the next 30 years. And that's what I'm trying to find too. I haven't found that yet, but that's what I want him to do.
I think he has found it.
I think so.
He has found it. He just hasn't found his way in yet. His passion is politics. And I remember one time Bishop said that the way that you know what your passion is the thing that makes you mad the most when it's done wrong. And if you can hear him talking about Dallas, okay, and how bad they are and their politics and governing and everything, it makes him mad. He could talk about it all day long.
So what part of politics would you want to be a part of, or would you want to make your career?
I would really love to be local, city. I know a lot of people want to be senators, and I don't want to be senators. I don't want to be traveling here and there.
Maybe alderman, something like that?
A councilman.
Or councilman?
I want to be a councilman. What did you say?
Alderman is like another word thing, councilman.
Okay. I want to be a councilman. Just somebody where I can really go directly and talk to local business people one-on-one. And with being in the city, you can really see your progress.
Okay.
You can see it. If you want to talk about a street being remodeled or a building being condemned, you know, you can time yourself. Okay, I got 2 years, and then you can walk to that street and say, okay, is the building still there, or is it still standing? You can really view your progress. With people when they go to the local elections, national elections, they present their ideas, and you represent an idea.
Okay.
And it's really hard to track your progress, because you can't really tie. If you're a state senator, it's hard to track your progress of what you did. If it's happening in a local city, unless you voted on a bill that will give them money. But I really want to work directly with people. I want somebody to say, hey, I want to talk. Where's my local congressman? What's my city councilman's number? Somebody to call me. Yeah, somebody call me and talk direct. I want to be able to measure my progress. So I like local.
How would you, if you were thinking about pursuing that, how would you actually get involved in that?
The only way to get involved is really just to go down there and volunteer.
Oh, volunteer. Okay.
A lot of the city officials for Irving, they said they're not paid for anything. They're not paid.
Okay.
So
you volunteer work.
You volunteer. I can't do it on levels they're doing, because most of those people, they're 50s, they're 50 and they're 40s, they've been established, they've raised their kids, or they already have enough money coming in. I'm just trying to find my money, so I can't be sitting in the city council meeting right now. I need to be making money.
Right.
Pay the rent. But
I can definitely hear your passion with that. You're right, Terry. I can definitely hear his passion with that. I've never heard that before.
So I would like to just volunteer here and there, but like when I'm older and I'm established,
But I think it'll come quicker than what he's giving
us. Yeah, a lot faster.
Because when you have a passion for something, it'll come to you.
That drive is gonna take you.
And he just beats himself up all the time because he feels like he hasn't found it yet. He's not there. And I keep telling him that everything happens in due season. And, it'll happen, because that's your passion. And God has already equipped you with it, yeah.
That sounds good. That sounds very good. Wow, this has been a very interesting interview.
Well, thank you, Tree.
Thank you very much, Jason and Terry.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? No?
Any other final words?
I would just advise, before you get married, go to marriage counseling.
Yeah. Thank you.
And have somebody really get into your business, your finances, your personal life, make sure you have a plan, even though the plan's not going to go as you think. It's kind of weird because they say have a plan. We had a plan. Nothing went according to plan.
We planned to have a baby 5 years after we got married.
But
we ended up having a baby 1 year. Yeah.
So, but just realize if you have any problems before you can get married, if they can be fixed, fix them. Because it's all gonna. If you don't fix the problem, then it's her problem. Your problem. And her problem is your problem. So just
his
make
debt
sure.
is your debt. Your debt is his debt. You know. And if you're not on one accord before marriage, you're not going to be on one accord after marriage. You have to really get together before you get married with someone you trust, a pastor or whatever, and talk about issues such as money, relationships with your family. Who are you going to spend Christmas with?
Former friends, if you're still gonna have those friends when you get married.
That is a huge
ex-boyfriends,
Do you have any
ex-girlfriends.
female friends? Does the man have any female friends? Can she still come to Christmas dinner?
Yeah,
you know?
Set your boundaries.
Right.
So,
you have to talk.
Any issues that you guys had?
We didn't really have issues because we set our boundaries. I mean, every couple's gonna have. We're not perfect. Every couple's gonna have their issues. There's, you know, you're gonna get mad and angry, but I think the best thing to do is sit down with your partner and say, okay, this is what I can stand, this is what I can't stand.
Right.
Even though you can stand it, I can't stand it. So just set your boundaries with people. And I really didn't understand that because before, when some of my friends got married, I didn't really talk to them as much, or we didn't really do as much, you know, especially if it was with the opposite sex. Now that I'm married, I see why. It's nothing personal, but it's just couples set boundaries.
Right. It's important.
So.
And it's not that you don't trust that person, but I don't think you should ever get to a point where you even totally trust yourself 100%. You know, never make it seem like you're not, like you're exempt from failing, because you can. So you have to set boundaries. For instance, me and my husband work at the same job.
Okay.
So we know a lot of the same people. But that doesn't mean that I can get in the car with one of his friends and go to lunch.
Yeah, we don't really do personal lunch. Like I used to do it all the time when I was single, but now that we're married, you know, I don't date, I don't go on a lunch. I don't go to lunch with like somebody of opposite sex, me and her.
Okay.
Even though anything's nothing's happening, but you can be at work. Because it's the same job, somebody sees me and her coming in together, it's like, oh.
That's Sherry's husband.
Right, you don't even want to look.
And you don't wanna set yourself up for anything. So it's just boundaries. We're not gonna cross this. We're not gonna step over this boundary, because if we do, this could happen. So we're just gonna take all possibility of failure out.
Right.
And I think that would help a lot of people in their marriages to not go over their boundaries. Because first you have to set them. Some married people think it's okay to hang out with other couples in a sexual way. But those are their boundaries. You know what I mean? Those are their boundaries. But we established that day one. Like, I think of dating. you know, that's not something that we do. So if you don't talk about those things, even like for me, having a sexual relationship with another couple would be totally inappropriate.
Right.
But I'm dealing with another person. Maybe to him that's the norm. You know, when you're dating. So you have to, but it could be extreme.
They're swingers.
It could be extreme. It could be extreme. So when you're dating, even though that sounds extreme to you, and you're thinking, there's no reason I need to bring it up because that's so extreme. No, you do need to bring it up. Right. Hey, did you do this?
You need to discuss it.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that was your advice, to go to marriage
counseling.
Good advice.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
That's something that you guys did.
Oh yeah, we did 6 weeks.
6 weeks, yeah.
With a pastor, and it was really good. It was really good.
And would you say that a lot of the scenarios that he actually brought up or discussed with you, you've actually had to use them?
Actually, a lot of the scenarios that he brought up, we had already discussed before the marital. I'm a communicator. My husband was not at first. He is now. He has to be, because I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk. Like, let's talk right now. You know, I'll call him at work. We need to talk. You know? So we had already discussed a lot of the stuff. It was a few things that we hadn't discussed, like how are you going to discipline your children. That's something that we had never discussed, but we were on the same accord with that. But another thing that I think that you should be aware of is that people change. Just because you're on one accord when you first get married, 20 years down the line, you might have changed your mind. So that open communication needs to stay open the whole time that you're married. You know, I've told my husband before, if there's a lady that you're attracted to and you don't trust yourself, tell me. Not so that I can go beat her up or put you out, not for that, but so that I can pray for you. Because that is something that is natural. Just because you're married, you're not going to totally think that everybody is ugly.
Yeah, the world doesn't turn ugly when you're married.
You're not. Everybody is not ugly. So I tell my husband, be very honest with me, because I have to bring that before God. You have to tell me, you know, and vice versa.
Right.
And that's something that we learned in marriage counseling.
How would you say that you've had to improve your communication, work on your communication throughout marriage? Especially when it comes to having a baby.
Well,
how you used to shut down and just leave sometimes, and
yeah.
One time you went, yeah. Okay, great. Well, Jason is not very confrontational. So I remember our very first fight before we got married. He wanted to get up and just leave, but he said to me, he told me that he didn't, because he saw that I was trying to communicate, and he knew that that's how his dad handled things, was just to get up and leave, go cut the yard or whatever. And he worked on that from day one.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I was at the door, I was like, let me just go back and handle this. If you leave, it's still going to be there. When you get back, it's still going to be there. So, just got to break old habits. And you don't really notice that, because I grew up in a house full of men. So, when I handle things, I'm handling things as I handle with my brothers or my dad. But then I never had any sisters, so when you're dealing with a woman now, you just can't get up and leave and just handle it like you're talking to you're handling your brother.
Okay.
You know, woman more sensitive, so you got to talk and go back and do stuff that you're not used to.
Not used to doing.
And I think he handles it very well, because I'm a very emotional person. I am very boisterous, and he is not. He's more quiet. He's more calm. I'm more what? You know, like I'll jump right on it. So you have to balance each other out. If he was like me, we would never get anything accomplished. We would always argue, because I would be talking and he would be talking, and you know, it would just go back and forth. But because he's calm, sometimes I feed off of him. I think, well, if he can handle this calmly, then I will too.
Okay. Or
if he can talk to me without screaming, then I'm going to do that to him next time and talk to him without screaming. And what you'll find when you are total opposites and you respect each other, then what you'll find is you kind of feel bad for handling things the way you do, because you're like, well, they didn't treat me like that last time, so you know.
I won't do that to him.
Right, so I won't do that to him, or I won't try to, you know.
Okay. You seem to have such a good chemistry.
We do.
Yeah. We do.
I can definitely see the
We do.
chemistry. Well, thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, stay.
Thank you. Bye.